Hey, welcome to day 3 of Decentraland Music Festival 2024. We are setting off on an evening of incredible music wherever you are in the world. If you are joining us across the Decentraland socials right now, we're live across Twitter, X, YouTube, and LinkedIn, and we're also live in World. So you can see the beanbag chairs are filling in a live talks zone in Decentraland Music Festival right now. We're going to be taking this talk on AI all the way up to the headline acts. So we have got coming up for you over the next few hours 4 amazing speakers coming from some of the most innovative companies in AI within the music industry, and also lots of names you will have heard of. We then taking that through to Pans, which is going to be kicking off at the main stage, leading into DJ Lug, leading into Nightmare, and ending with Decentraland favorite Buffalo in the evening. If you have missed anything of today's amazing performances, we do restream everything at 3 a.m. UTC today. So don't worry, if you're just joining us now and you're trying to catch up, you'll be able to do so this evening at 3 a.m. UTC. Well, it's my absolute delight to welcome 3 incredible speakers. We're going to be joined by a 4th very shortly. He's on his way. But I'd love to introduce you now to David from Audience Strategies, Ryan from Infinite Album, and Fred from LANDR. We're also going to do a little tour because some of our speakers here today have booths within Decentraland Music Festival. But before we do, we've got some few introductions to talk about who is joining us for this incredible panel for the next hour. David, do you want to kick us off? Who are you and what are you working on right now?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm David. I'm a data nerd. My profession is helping artists to really understand who their audiences are, helping labels to really understand who their audience are, helping radio stations to understand who their audiences are, all that good stuff. And where can AI play a role in helping you to be clear who you are, to know your audience, and to market yourself? And how can AI help all the other people in the value chain to do that thing as well, and help more artists to find more audiences? So data and audiences, that's me.
I'm loving this. Data, audiences, and helping. This is going to be the theme coming through. Ryan, what about you?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Bay. My name is Ryan Groves. I am the CTO and co-founder of Infinite Album, where we generate infinite streams of music that adapt to interactive experiences like games and metaverses. So I've been building music creation apps for about 12 years using machine learning and AI. I'm also a musician myself, and I also run a nonprofit that runs the AI Song Contest, where we're exploring the ethical co-creation of music with AI. So that's me.
A lot. So we're going to be diving
Yeah.
into Infinite Album and the AI Song Contest as we're speaking over the next hour. Just to say, Dana
Sure.
has very, very quickly run over to the Infinite Album booth in Decentraland Music Festival. You can see
Woo!
that some of it's looking amazing. Dana, do you want to dive inside and just show there's a video here? What can people see in your booth, Ryan?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have a video from one of the artist packs that we've created. So we actually do deals directly with artists, and they create custom content for our application, and then we release that as its own style pack in our app. And so this is a synthwave artist that we worked with out of France, and you can see there's like a little emotion wheel on the side, which has like all the different emojis, which you can't see what they are right now, but it's basically, happy, sad, excited, tense. And as you play a game, those emotions will adapt based on the scenario that's happening. So, if a dragon plops down in front of you, then all of a sudden the music is tense. So yeah, that's what we've built, and it's out in the market. We have been targeting Twitch streamers because it also provides copyright safe music, which is a huge problem for gamers who live stream. And yeah, it all runs on the gamer's device. So we built this to be sort of like a client-side embedded non-cloud solution, which has its own challenges as well.
That's super cool. So if I'm in your booth and I click your links, which are in the honeycomb, and I'm a producer or I'm a Twitch streamer, what do I do next?
Yeah, you can just download the app. We're on the platform called Overwolf, and it's a PC app right now. It's PC only at the moment because of Overwolf's limitations. And yeah, so if you have a PC, you can download it, start generating music, create your own custom songs based on our selection of styles or based on artists that we've onboarded, and then hook it up to different games. And you can actually even specify how you want the music to react based on what's happening in the game. So like, you know, a headshot can trigger a sound effect, or, you know, a winning match can trigger a happy emotion, for example.
That's super cool. Super cool. We're going to dive in further. Fred, LANDR. I know probably all of us have heard of LANDR. Tell me who you are and what do you do at LANDR?
Yeah, well, I have the pleasure of being the VP of marketing for LANDR. So as some of you know, LANDR is an AI-powered platform that empowers artists to actually, I like to say, go from dreaming to streaming. So from creating, distributing, monetizing their work. And we were kind of AI before it was cool to say AI. So we started 10 years ago with one product, which was mastering, and not to replace the creators or the engineers, actually to enhance the experience and to make it available to more people. So that's the mindset at LANDR. And I have the pleasure of connecting the creators with the solutions that we build and making sure that the offering reflects the evolving needs. And I guess we're going to talk plenty about those evolving needs of musicians and music creators today.
Definitely, I hope so. Absolutely. So, Yadin, we're going to bring you in quickly because I know that Dana wants to take us to another booth. Yadin, who are you and what do you do?
Hi, nice to meet you. So my name is Yadin and I'm CMO of HitCraft, actually Session 42, which is the maker of HitCraft. I'm in charge of the go-to-market, branding, and everything revolving marketing. Basically, HitCraft is an AI collaborative platform for music creators. Right? So we're making the music creation process accessible for all creators. Basically, how we do this is by allowing music talents the ability to create an AI representation of themselves, right? And thus allowing any creator who wants it the access to the talents, knowledge, and skills. We're starting off with music producers because we feel that that's the hardest of all skills to acquire access to. We're taking it from there. We'll elaborate a little more later.
That's super cool. And if we go in your booth, Dana, you there to answer? Dana's helping us out with the streaming right now. Our amazing head of socials. Dana, are you there? Can you move into the HitCraft booth?
Yeah, she really liked your introduction because she immediately started dancing.
So I think I'm gonna bring us together and we're gonna dive back into the HitCraft booth in a second. I think, yeah, there we go. So yeah, it's amazing to have you all here. If you are with us in world, we're live streaming into Decentraland Music Festival. We're at the Live Talks booth area. So you can see if you jump into festival grounds, run towards the bean bags and come join us as we live stream into the festival itself. We are for the next 40 minutes talking about AI within the music industry. We're going to be touching on some hot topics. I'm hoping we're going to get a little bit controversial, maybe get some debate going. We're going to start a little bit easy though. We're going to dive in. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm going to start it hard, obviously. We're going to start talking about ethical AI. And there's been this big discussion point coming in 2024. And I sort of want to hear from you all, what does this word ethical mean for you currently in what you're doing? And kind of as an extension for that, how do you see it developing as we go into 2025? Who wants to start? Brad, I see you.
Because no,
let's go.
We asked ourselves the same question, and again, there's multiple ways to think about AI, but the one thing that for us, at least at LANDR, we think is crucial is that it needs to be fair. It needs to be you need to be able to be transparent about it, and at the end of the day, you need the artist to benefit from it. So those are the kind of the principles that we are thinking about when we think about developing AI-powered tools. But we said, okay, how can we go even further? How can we make sure that we apply the same logic that I just explained in my intro, how we give back to the creators, how we make sure that they benefit from those tools into the AI space? So we said, let's call it Fair Trade AI, and let's literally launch a program where people can contribute their songs or their data and get compensated fairly through that same process. So just as people are getting compensated for streaming, we developed a way to basically have an opt-in where people can say, yep, you can, I'm okay with providing my songs for the next cohort of training, and you'll get compensated for it. Again, just the same way you get compensated for streaming. So I think for me, I don't want to go into the too much details, but for me, the fairness, the transparency, and making sure that the artists benefit from it, I think that's the basis. And we've seen a lot of models. I don't want to name any other models, but they're not all aligned with that principle. So I'm just throwing it out there. What do you think, guys?
Yeah,
David, I can see you. Oh, Ryan, go.
Yeah, I've thought quite a lot about this. You know, at the AI song contest, we specifically have just tried to design these things like transparency into the process. And so our participants actually submit like a 4-page process document as well as their song, and we evaluate how they made the song as well as the quality of the song. But I think from like a broader perspective, I think it really, for me, ethics really comes down to consent, because creators have put so much thought and time into developing their skills and into building these incredible art pieces. And when they're public, when they're streamed, when they're published, you know, they lose a little bit of control with how their artwork is used. And to say that I can just grab somebody's piece of art, throw it into a machine learning model, and then monetize it on the other end and even compete with those artists is, to me, totally unfair. So, and right now, a lot of these processes are, the legal processes around it are opt out, which is not a very easy thing to do for a content creator, because you sort of lose, often you partner with people, you partner with a publisher, you partner with a streaming platform, or at least have some sort of arrangement where they have the ability to disseminate your work. And in that case, it makes it very hard to say, oh, I'm opting out on every single platform that it appears. So it's a huge problem, I think, with all large models at the moment, whether it's, you know, the New York Times getting their entire content scraped, or Shutterstock. It sort of transcends mediums. And I think one benefit, it's been interesting to see it sort of plod along from like text to image to video to music. And music was sort of like the last one to come around to this text to music experience. And I'm actually pretty thankful that we have sort of centralized rights groups that have a lot more power potentially than, you know, Shutterstock, or, you know, bloggers don't really have a centralized power where all of their content is being published through one centralized power. So I think it's actually kind of beneficial in this particular situation.
I'm not sure I disagree with anything that's said at all. Right? So let's just start there. But in the interest of spicing this up a little bit, and in the interest of playing devil's advocate just a little bit, I mostly work in language models, so words in, words out. And I think there's a very strong argument to be said that the creation of that technology out of absolutely nowhere has and will benefit mankind to such a great degree that it's worth trampling on a little bit of copyright to get there. If kids in every part of the world who didn't have the same educational experiences we had can suddenly have an instant partner to help them think, to help them write, to help them create, to help them express themselves, to help them find their identity and express their identity and make a difference in the world. For words, thinking, planning, is that a greater good? The lives that will lift, the worlds that will change, is that a greater good? Or should we trample on some copyright to get there? Because it never would have happened without it. I think there's a really good case to be made. For music, for typing some words and getting some music out, it's a bit less clear to me, I gotta say. I think you should compensate copyright holders, and I'm not sure you can make the same argument about the greater good. But what if 1 billion people tomorrow wake up, try out Suno, and have the most fun making music they've ever had? They never would have made music before in their whole lives, but they try it out. They make something beautiful for them, for their family, for their friends, for their community. What if that is the case? And is the greater good of creating that much art, which never would have happened if we had to do copyright in the first place, is that worth it? I don't know.
I'll hold my thoughts. I've got some thoughts.
Well, I'm going to come back, Yadin.
But I appreciate that perspective. It's definitely one of the perspectives that is often expressed.
It's a big issue. I guess as for us, well, I do want to connect a little bit to what Fred said in the beginning. We do give, full control to the creators, and they voluntarily choose what to upload. For us, for instance, we have an AI tool, a platform that is based on real human creation. So if I'm a producer, I can supply my my templates, my DAW, everything that I want others to work with. But I do that voluntarily, and I can get compensated, whether by a cut, whether by being paid by a platform like us. But when we're talking about ethics, I got to say that for us, one of the most important thing I think is to empower the creators. That's what we set out to do. Is not a tool that will replace them eventually. We don't believe that's possible. We want to give a tool that will keep the creators in the middle, and just give them initial tools to do what they want to set out to do. As a matter of ethics.
I think
Fred, I'm seeing you do. Everyone's. Ryan, do you want to come back with those thoughts first, and then we'll jump through?
Sure. Yeah, I'll keep it brief. I think the biggest issue with how I don't disagree entirely with the argument that this can help people learn and help people get excited and reduce barriers. What I have a huge problem with is the centralization and exploitation of all of this content, and the centralization of wealth, essentially. Midjourney has said that they had 300 million in revenue, like a year and a half or 2 years after they released, and at the same time you can generate like still frames of Disney movies. So that doesn't seem like it's benefiting humanity. And additionally, like a lot of these applications, some of them are obvious, but it's not 100% certain to me that having a chatbot, for example, that can completely write your essay is beneficial to the learning process. And I think a lot of students will use it just to skip the learning process. So I think obviously there are going to be some huge benefits, especially when you're talking about like, if you train something on like, physics books or something like that. I think that would be probably helpful, just to be able to access the appropriate knowledge, like that. But yeah, I think it's a little overly optimistic, and I think this is the narrative that ChatGPT and all of the companies that are centralizing and wealth and exploiting this content are making. So it's good to question it a little bit, I think.
I think you brought us onto for me, there's two dimensions to ethics. There's the ethics of what you suck into the model to train it, and are you compensating rights holders? And there's a debate there, but rights holders need rights, otherwise the industry collapses. So there's a debate there, but the other side is the responsibility of the user. I think you touched on that. So if you use Midjourney to create incredible new original work that you've put your heart and soul in, because you've tried 100 prompts and 100 iterations on 100 prompts, and you've used your mind to come up with great ideas, and you've refined it at the end, what's created is yours. And ethically, I think you can say, wow, that's my work. If you're lazy and you say, give me a Disney still, that is unethical. And I think so. I think there's ethics on both sides. What are you sucking into the model? But there's ethics in using it. And as an artist, if you put no thought in, pushed some buttons and got a song out you happen to quite like, I don't think that's very ethical. But if you put your yours,
you think it's yours now. That's what you're saying. If you pushed a few buttons and
and claim it as yours. Yeah.
If you push a few buttons and claim it as yours, but really you didn't put your heart and soul into it, then I think there's an ethical problem on that side as well. So there's a responsibility on users to use these things well in ways that really represent themselves, don't rip off copyright, and are fair reflections of their intent, their creativity, their style. and there's some responsibilities on the model creators as well. But actually, both sides have some ethical challenges here. When we talk about responsible AI, it's responsible use and representation, but also responsible training, and both sides.
And I think both can exist at the end of the day. I mean, it's just getting more and more creators into the spectrum. So basically, more people are creating music, which is a good thing. To your point, David, if you are creating music, you should be also curious about how music is created. There's various ways to create music. You can create it through prompts, text to music, or you can actually pick up your guitar, plug it into your DAW, or you can have an in-between where, you know, you have creative block, you use AI to unblock your creative block. You know, there's multiple ways to do it. I see a lot of comparison to do in the photography world. I mean, there still are photographers that go out with their Leica M6 load film, and there are people using Sony cameras that, you know, track the eye every millisecond, and there's an AI chip in it, and so on and so forth. So I think it's just getting more people into the act of creating. Then to your guys' point, there's a bit of education so people actually understand where it comes from, where those sounds are coming from. But we're still such a nascent tech, if I can say. I mean, AI is not new, but the way people use it in music is kind of new, that there's still some education to do around how to use it, where does it come from, and how is it being sourced, and how people get compensated. Because yeah, at the end of the day, there are artists that contributed to making this product or this service better and better and better and better.
I want to round on that thing about compensation. So when NFTs came in back in 2017, 2018, you know, the big hype at the beginning was finally artists are going to be compensated for their work. And we've kind of seen that play out, that suddenly the royalties aren't there anymore. The collectors are saying that they want it, blah, you know how this developed. And now we're having these same conversations now about, yes, AI is transforming the industry, but we're going to be compensated. Like this is going to come. We're going to get to the stage where artists are being compensated. And I sort of want to drill down into the solutions that we have now. One, okay, we're talking about compensation. How far along are we in the tech to be fully compensated? Is this something that we're going to see now? Is it something we're going to see in 6 months' time? And how will artists know that they're going to be compensated in perpetuity? Because we're talking about a tech that is staying around. Like if I'm contributing to these systems, how am I going to know that my work, as we have with musical royalties, is going to be compensated for as long as my contribution is creating new derivative or generative works? Anyone?
I can jump in here. Yeah, we had a little summit that we called the Creative Rights Collective as part of the AI Song Contest this year, and we had a panel full of people that were from companies who had all dealt with this problem of compensation. They all believed that artists should be compensated for the AI models that they were building, and they had sorted it out sort of themselves. I think some sort of royalty share is kind of an obvious solution, where you say, you know, okay, maybe 30% of anything you make, if you've included generated output in that song, maybe 30% goes back to that generated output provider. And that, you know, those royalty provisions, that's what we do at Infinite Album. We have royalty agreements so that, you know, we actually had to invent our own royalty system because the current one is based on number of plays, and when each play could be an infinite stream, you can't really base it on a number. So we had to do like a time-based royalty system. But then we even do data attribution, data provenance things to figure out exactly who contributed to each of those models, because you can even do some style mashups in our system. And you know, we've created this whole formula and this whole framework for compensation because we truly believe in that. And I think that's pretty fair to say, like, it doesn't have to be, you know, 90% of whatever you earn has to go back to these providers, but I think it's fair to say that something should go back to the original content creators. And you know, if we're going to see how this plays out, because if you know, a large portion of creators move to just being you know, generated content creators, we're going to see a degradation of data, and like the next generation of models may not be able to improve on anything because nobody's creating new original artwork, because, or it's just getting sort of degraded by generated data. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out too.
Yeah, so to avoid AI training AI, right? At the end of the day, that would be
yeah, exactly.
So and for us, I like what you're saying, Ryan. So making a program out of it makes it very tangible. So for us, we announced that we would rev share, so we would give 20% of the proceeds of the up and coming AI powered product go back to the creators, and it's also based on your contribution. If you give 1,000 songs to the model, you'll get compensated more than if you give one song or one piece of music. So that makes it very tangible. There's also, I mean, I think any companies that pretend to be able to give money back to creators should have some sort of interface where you can actually see it. Again, it's tangible, where you can cash it out. And this is, for us, very easy because we are already doing it with distribution. So we distribute 1% of the music that's on Spotify currently. So a lot of users are going in and seeing earnings, and being able to see it and to cash it makes it very tangible. So that's also something that, I mean, I think you touched on it, Ryan, but sometimes it's a bit, it's a bit unclear how I'm going to get compensated, how frequently, how much. So giving a lot of guidance to the people who are participating in this course is key. Is key to make sure that you get quality type of contribution.
Can I be a little philosophical about this? We're talking about the angle of the institutions, people like us, but I want to talk about the creators for a second. There are over 100 million creators in the world, and we see millions of new songs weekly created, not by on platforms like Suno, Udio, etc., but actual creators, musicians, and I believe that's a natural urge. I mean, the urge to create is not going away. We're humans. Just like, Photoshop never killed the designer, right? And that's a little more technical tool, but still, it's natural. It's a natural thing. So I really believe that as long as there are, creators who want to create music, there will be a way for them to support themselves, right? They will make money somehow, because there are hundreds of millions of creators around the world. A lot of them want to cooperate or collaborate with each other. There will be, and that's what we're kind of trying to do now. We're trying to give the platform where they can benefit and sell their goods to those people who actually create. And as long as that's where it starts. That's the drive to create. That's where everything, we come in later as institutions. There will be a way to compensate. It sounds like holistic or whatever, but it's I really believe in that.
David.
Well, I think a key question, I think, for AI in this regard is the extent to which it's auditable, which rights contributed to an output. So if I write a bunch of lyrics in ChatGPT, it'd be really nice to know whether it was like 5% influenced by the Beatles or 0%, so that the revenue share could go back to the Beatles or not, depending on what it was. And the same with music generation. And so I wonder, if we're focusing on really ethical AI, I wonder what capabilities we've got in different models to actually pay the right people for which inputs are being used.
Yeah, I think it's certainly not possible without transparency into the training data. And that's what, for example, like the EU AI Act is going to enforce, is having transparency into those data processes for certain risk levels of AI models. But to Yadin's point, I think that part of the reason artists are mad is because they're pretty unhappy with their current compensation level with the streaming royalties and whatnot. So like, it just feels like we didn't think anything could get worse than getting 1 cent for like 1 million streams on Spotify. I mean, that's an exaggeration, but not too much. So artists have had to reinvent their means of earning an income many times, and most people who really want to do this full time are essentially teaching other people how to be musicians, and that's usually a big part of their
Good.
revenue.
So we'll have a new generation of musicians. That's still positive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a very good point, Ryan, because it's either you participate in and you do get some compensation, or again, some other companies are just doing it without your permission anyways, right? So it's a dilemma that I agree, Yadin, as a creator, the art to create is there, the finding a way to monetize your work is there, but I mean, as companies that are in the music industry, we need to find ways to enable that more and more and more, and not just through streaming, because yes, we know that this cannot be your only revenue stream if you are a creator. So having all these platforms, including the ability to participate into the AI quote unquote revolution, I don't know if we can call it a revolution, but whatever, this AI movement, I think it's positive. Will it come with a bunch of questions, as we're asking today, for creators? Absolutely. So we need to be the ethical, transparent companies that go in and say, here's one way to do it. If you guys want to participate, we're building this together. We're committed to communicating how we're doing it and how it's performing. And yeah, it's basically that, or you can try to figure it out yourself and hope for the best that your songs are not already being used to train other types of products.
Yeah, and I'm just if I could jump in real quick, sorry if I'm talking too much. Yeah, I do feel like we're in like a particular snapshot of time because it is so nascent, as Fred said, and these models are actually kind of plateauing with the amount of, because they're basically scraping the entire internet, like the LLMs. So the difference between Anthropic's Claude and ChatGPT's, O1 is really, really minimal now. And the gains that we're getting over the last couple of years are also not, they're not exponential, right? And so I feel like we're in a very particular snapshot of time where the technology requires so much data to perform the way it can. But there's a very good chance that technology is going to advance pretty quickly in the next couple of years, and a new architecture will come out, or something will happen where you don't need that much data. And I think all of these people that are building these solutions to be sort of middlemen between data providers and AI model creators are actually going to be sort of like selling picks during the gold rush, because I think we're sort of in, like, we're maybe being too loose about copyright. To David's point, I think that I think technology will essentially solve that problem, and we're going to find, like, you could train a model on a single physics textbook and have a teacher teaching you physics, with a different model probably. So yeah, I feel like that's why I kind of feel like we're being a little too hasty into saying, hey, let's remove the guardrails because this is happening now. I don't think it's happening now. I think we've reached a bit of a plateau at the moment, and I think we're going to get there in the next 2 to 7 years probably. But and in that case, I'm hoping that these explicit licensing models will prevail.
It's getting interesting. I'm going to jump in now with some public service announcements as a quick break, because we are streaming live, obviously, across the Decentraland socials as part of Decentraland Music Festival. If you are in World, you'll know that we're streaming into World as well. We're on the beanbags. You can watch us. You can talk about the chat. I'm seeing lots of really interesting things coming up in the chat. There's a couple of comments that have come in from the audience right now. We are streaming live. So we have from Jean-Philippe Taillon, is saying that artist compensation is like any other talent compensation. It comes down to supply and demand. I don't see AI music increasing demand for music, but it will increase supply. I think it's only going to speed up the shift of value from recorded to live music and live performance, with very little effect on overall music size.
Well, not necessarily. Can I take this, and I'll also relate to what Fred said earlier. I think we have to look at AI not as something that is, a top-bottom institution, the new institution AI. It's dynamic. We don't know where it's headed. We don't know what's going to be with this. That's why, as Fred mentioned, we have to build these new models that will help and compensate creators. Now, not to blow our Owen Horn. I just know our product really well, so I'm going to give that as an example. What we're trying to do, HitCraft, is allow each user to build their own, representation online and to be compensated that way. They create their own personal AI. They take this technology and they make it their own, so they can sell their talent, their art, their creativity, and not to put someone else as the guard and to take control over it themselves. And I think that's where the future is headed. I mean, we have to give them those tools to do that, to help them monetize their pricing, their earnings off of their art this way. I mean, you don't have to just hand it over to someone else. You can take control over it. Hope that answers Jean-Paul's questions. Anyway. Jean-Pierre?
I think he's got a really good point. So I think there's only so many hours in the day, and people are listening to music for about as many hours as they're willing to listen to music. And so if you're creating new music, you're stealing a share from somebody. But I would say, though, to my central philosophy, which is understanding your audiences, like if you know who it is you'll want to make music for, and AI can help you work that out. If you know who you want to make music for, you've never had an easier job of making the music you want to make, and you've never had an easier job of communicating with, engaging, building relationships with that audience spread all around the world. And so there are billions and billions of people on this planet. If you're clear who you're writing for, you're clear who you want to talk to, and you're clear what you need to do to go engage that audience, you can build that audience, and you build a substantial audience without worrying about all the mainstream press, mainstream radio. So that's getting easier and easier every single day.
I'm going to jump to another comment. Justin Ray says, legislation always follows tech. I'm concerned that we're in a blind spot, like we were with P2P and Napster.
Yeah.
Yes.
If legislation preceded tech, we wouldn't have the tech. So thank God legislation lags tech. Otherwise, we never would have had it. But hopefully, we can come up with something sensible.
Yeah, I think just one point about that is that I think the thing that's super tricky about AI is that it can create an AI with an intended use case, but now it can do so many other things. So like at the AI song contest when ChatGPT came out, people were obviously using it to generate lyrics, but what we didn't expect is they were using it to generate like melodies and chord progressions in notation form, or like written like letter notation form. And it was like pretty decent at doing that. So I think that's why legislation is going to lag especially hard on AI. And the EU AI Act is a pretty good piece of legislation that was also a little bit rushed, but and has its flaws, but at least it was a pretty good attempt. And like, if you go through it, I've been studying it a little bit. If you go through it, there's so many clauses where they're like, we're going to figure this out in 2 years because we don't know how this is going to develop, but we reserve the right to determine this piece later. So yeah, it's challenging.
Fred, for you, how much is legislation playing a part in your strategy right now, this move for your fair trade program?
Yeah, well, again, as it was mentioned, there's a bit of a gray zone. So we're trying to be actually overcautious. Like we're trying to be ahead. We're trying to follow the most ethical path forward, and also to benefit the users, but also the technology in the end. Because to Ryan's point, we want the best possible outcome. We build AI powered tools. So we're not trying to recreate what Suno or Udio is doing. So, but we're trying to put into the hands of creators. We're trying to multiply the number of creators that are using these tools. So again, we're very, very diligent in the way we create an AI powered environment. And if there's one company out there that actually, and I think it was a Billboard who said there's more companies that should look into LANDR, because this is kind of the best attempt right now at doing it. So I don't know if I answered your question, babe, but that's an obsession for us to be kind of at the forefront and we read the same pieces as you read, Ryan, and we're trying to understand where it's going to go, but we're all figuring it out together. So that's pretty much where we are right now.
So far, we've kind of talked from the level of the platform, we've talked about the level of the producer. We haven't really talked about fans yet. And I guess my question coming from a fan side is, okay, we've seen what algorithms have done in social media and social media recommendations. AI is coming in a big way in terms of personalization, in terms of recommendation, in terms of curation of the music that I'm accessing through the platforms. Thoughts on this, concerns, worries, Brave New World? How are we feeling about personalization through AI within music fandom and consumption? Yadin, would you like to jump in?
No, I see David there. He's
Oh,
smiling.
David, go.
Well, I mean, my first thought is that the easiest thing as a fan is to obsess over the artists that you love and the genres that you love, and that's great, and you're well versed in that. But for any artist, the most interesting audience are the not yet fans, the people who are not that familiar with you, not that familiar with your music, not that familiar with the genre, maybe don't have the right words to describe what it is that they love even. And it's never been easier for them to find you, because they can now describe what it is that they like, or describe the songs that they like, or throw a bunch of songs they like into algorithms and find all these other amazing artists who are adjacent, but they couldn't have gone actively found them themselves. AI is incredible at pattern matching, of course, and it's one of its core skill. And so if you're semi-curious but not yet fan, and if the artist, as an artist, if you've made available the right information about who you are, what you care about, your lyrics, your style, your music on the internet, then AI can help people to discover you in ways that they never could have done before. So I'm excited about that aspect of the personalized journey through music. Now you've got more power and agency without having the right language, without having the right words than you've ever had before. And so the key to artists is making your stuff available so that people can discover it in that way. I like that.
Fred, I see you jumping in.
Yeah, I mean, we see it among our own users that they're telling us that they get their music discovered in new ways, right? So, I mean, yes, getting playlisted on Spotify is very important, and it's probably still the best way to get your music out there. But to David's point, now that all these new ways of searching and spinning out results and powering other tools, there's multiple ways to discover artists, and this is an economy where the smaller creator, I have a very optimistic view on the smaller creator. So the big names, again, will be very, very few 1%ers making millions of dollars with music. But I think it's creating a new economy for smaller creators that can, maybe not have 100% of their revenue stream from their art or their music, but a big chunk of it, and a bigger chunk than it was before, when you needed a label, you needed a distributor, you needed, a full array of people to help you with your career. Well, guess what? You can, with very accessible tools, manage your full career from your bedroom on your laptop. So that for me is very, very exciting. And since those tools are AI powered, they're becoming more sophisticated. The data you get back when you're an artist is more insightful than ever. So from that perspective too, I think the influx of AI powered tools for creators is just going to make the economy bigger for that type of smaller creators.
I want to take David's role now and start being devil's advocate. Because I've not seen that. So I've been researching Decentraland Music Festival for the last 4 months, deeply into EDM. And I've still found that my best recommendations came from YouTube, has been pretty decent in terms of spitting out content for me. Personal recommendations, people sending me lists of people that are working, independent artists reaching out to me directly as a producer. Spotify has been consistently terrible at showing me what is possible across the various genres of EDM. For example, I've been listening to so many techno playlists, and in none of those playlists did it pick up on my interest in techno metal at all. So Hex, which is an amazing production company with techno metal working across Europe, I only came across them after my production cycle finished, and they would have been a key, to bring in and talk to. So it's been being a devil's advocate. Am I just being siloed, in fact, by these platforms and being fed Martin Garrix out of my ears? Like, how can we be assured as fans and users that actually we are accessing platforms that do have some kind of, if we call it ethics, in terms of the music that they're serving us for us, rather than the revenue that they're getting through the platform?
That's a really good question. I think it's about to get a lot harder to recommend as well, especially when you see, I've witnessed the experimental side of this with the AI song contest, where, we have a DataBots is, one of the more famous, quote unquote, AI music practitioners. And, they're really good at transporting from one genre to another in like a split second, and like making new hybrid genres that, I think they had like children's deathcore and like stoner frog step. So they're just kind of like making stuff up. So we're actually gonna, that is one cool thing about all of this creative ability, is that you have the ability to create something now and share it with your people. So I think we're going to see even a little more ground up communities built around just really out there ideas. And even, what we've also seen in the AI song contest is just people like writing a song for their wife that passed away, or for a dog, or, just writing a song that they've never been able to do. And those aren't going to be like super palatable necessarily to the broader audience, but they could be really, really meaningful to the people in their lives. So I think you're going to see a lot of really nice sort of special moments that people can share with each other through the use of AI, which is that's for me the uplifting part. But I also think, Yadin is doing something really interesting, and it's something that I thought was a good idea for a while now, because I think at the end of the day, people listen to music not only just because of how the audio sounds, but about the people that are behind the artwork and all of the thought and preparation that they've put into that art piece, whether it's an album or a specific song. And AI, I think, is going to enable much more meaningful interaction between artists and their fans. If you could do, like, I even foresee having, one of Yadin's musical personas embodied in like a metaverse, where you could like do a meet and greet with an AI version of Beyonce, and maybe even like, get on the keyboard and like start jamming with Beyonce's AI persona, so like for so many people that would be incredibly meaningful. And so I think that's where the, we talked a little bit about the pie growing, and I think it's really more in those interactive spaces that we're going to see music really creep into. And that's kind of what we're trying to do at Infinite Album, is, bring music into that space where it's actually really difficult to get music to be relevant to your current context. And right now you are limited to recommendation engines. So yeah, that's where I see the opportunity, at least.
Yeah, and to just pick up on what you're saying, not only on recommendations, but on the creation process itself. We read somewhere that the average number of people it takes to create a song on the 100 most popular songs on Billboard is seven people. And that's not the musicians who play, that's the producers, the lyricists, the composers, all the people in the process of creating a song. So the opportunities now, when you're sitting in one side of the world, you can cooperate with someone on the other side of the world in real time and generate a song together. I don't know, the future looks creepy and scary, but bright.
But there's one common thread. There's one common thread out there. I mean, music is about shared experiences. Somebody creates something, makes another human being feel something, even dance. I mean, we're seeing it in and right now people are dancing. Like that magic will never go away. AI, non-AI, a guitar, a synth, a laptop, the act of creating and making people feel something, that will always be there. So we need to adapt to whatever technology is available to make that even more interesting, more immersive, and so on and so forth. So I like what you're saying, Yadin, that core aspect is there, and AI is just enabling new ways to make that shared experience even more interesting.
We just got 5 minutes left. So before we dive into more music at the festival, I kind of want to bring it down to that kind of future view, this optimistic future view of these new ways of shared experience, these new ways of life and performance. Future hats on. What do you think we're going to see on the horizon now with AI?
I'm going to be, if David was the devil's advocate, I'm going to be the, what's the opposite of devil's advocate? Dude, I spent over 1,000 euros now for Oasis tickets for this summer. I'm going to be there live in the show. Nothing's going to replace that. Yeah, AI is going to get better. It's going to change the lighting according to the energy of the crowds and decide on things in real time. I don't know, but you need a human behind this thing. We are humans. I mean, as long as I don't have a bug in my or a chip in my neck, I'm human, and I'm moved by human things. So there has to be some way for humans to be involved in these live concerts and shows and whatever. I don't know where this is going, but I know that we somehow be a major part of it as humans. I mean.
David.
I'm going to be super positive as well. Hundreds of millions of people who never otherwise would have made music, will make something that to them is special. That's all that counts. Millions and millions of artists who anyway would have made music will make better music, will be able to express themselves more, be able to make more music that's more unique. And I started by saying I'm from the business side of this thing, and those artists who want to make it into a career have never had an easier opportunity to describe who they are using AI and have that put out there, to tell their story, and we have ChatGPT help them and put it out there, to communicate themselves to the business, to the industry, to playlisters, to fans, and build those relationships. ChatGPT is your friend, all those things. They will find their niches and their audience and their voice they never otherwise would have done. So I am incredibly optimistic about this.
Ryan, do you share the optimism?
I do. I think it's easier to be optimistic about music and AI than it is about most every other topic with AI. Because at the end of the day, there's actually something really punk about stealing someone's music and repurposing it for yourself. We have been doing that. And, one of the arguments is that robots should be able to do that too. I don't agree necessarily, mainly because of that centralization of wealth thing. But, we've been, hip hop was stealing samples and just releasing it before they cleared licenses. DJs were doing the same thing, but it created whole new industries and whole new genres. So, when you're talking about in the image or video space of like deep faking a politician or like a businessman owner's voice to like steal money, it's a very different thing than, deep faking Drake to make a nice sounding track. So I think there is reason to be optimistic in music because there's going to be a lot of fun to be had. It's going to open up a lot of possibilities, and AI is not just a push button solution. Like that's what we see at the AI song contest. There were over 200 tools that people used, and they use it for, either the song process or they use it for individual tracks. So it's ideation, it's like a creative partner, it's everything, and it can be used at every stage of the process. And so I think that's there's a lot of passionate people creating really cool things in the space.
Fred.
I share the same enthusiasm as my colleagues there, but I will say this: I see the world moving to a place where AI serves as a creative ally. I think that's the mindset. I think to David's point, more people will create music, which is a good thing. More people will feel creative. I mean, think about it. You're in your bedroom, you have a laptop, and your song is on Spotify in no time. Like, that's very powerful, thanks to, you know, some of those tools that Ryan mentioned and that Yadin is working on. So, and that LANDR is providing to the millions of creators that aspire to be a producer, aspire to be a musician. So again, I see it very positively. There'll be some challenges. We'll figure it out. We've figured out synthesizers when they came in. We figured out, you know, a bunch of tech when it came in. I mean, some people were saying that you know, drum machines would replace drummers. There are still drummers out there doing it. And you're about to see one, Yadin, at the Oasis concert. So again, I think there's a place for both sides, and it's going to be a real creative ally moving forward.
Love that. So ending on a positive note, creative ally, we're still going to have the live experiences. It's going to be looking towards that fairness, transparency, benefit, and compensation.
Yeah.
So
it's great. Yeah, I'm glad to see my colleagues, everyone, you know, so positive and ethical. That's, I think, the most important thing, that we're leading these things, and we want to take it to a good place.
This has been fantastic.
Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't raise $126 million, but you know.
We will.
Stay on at the end of this call. Connect.
Yeah.
So this has been absolutely fantastic. We could talk another hour about this, but unfortunately we can't. We're in the midst of Decentraland Music Festival. You'll see that everybody's started to run across to the main stage already. We're going to have a fantastic performance right now, starting on the hour in 2 minutes time, from Pans. This has been curated by Songbird Collective, an agency that's put over 1,000 live performances into virtual worlds. So it's fantastic to have them curating Pans on the main stage. Going forward, we're then going to have, let me just check, we're going to have DJ Lag, let me get this right, Gom, out of Durban in South Africa. It's going to be fantastic. I'm so looking forward to DJ Lag's set. And then we're going to go straight into Nightmare. Nightmare, I have seen previews. It is going to be amazing. And we have the incredible light shows created by the content team here at Foundation. Massive shout out to everybody that's worked on the main stage. It's looking fantastic. So if you are able to dive into World right now, we're about to dive into 4 hours of exclusive performances on the main stage, going straight into the next stage of Decentraland Music Festival. Thank you so much for everybody that's joined us live on the socials, live in World, and to David, Fred, Ryan, and Yadin for all of the insightful points and also optimism to end this panel on AI. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we'll see you in World at Decentraland Music Festival. Bye.
Thank you, Bay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers.